Good. So, hello everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of ClueCon Weekly. Joining us this week is Flavio Goncalves from SipPulse, an AI expert in all things voice, and it's been around for a while. We sort of known each other in the industry for a while. So, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Oh, hi, Luca. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Would you like to start with a quick intro about yourself?
Oh yeah, my name is Flavio Goncalves. I started a very long time ago. I'm getting old, and I got, I believe, four of the big revolutions. The first one, the microcomputers, networks, and then convergence, and now we have a new revolution called AI that it's in our doors and we have to deal with. And I have founded two companies, the Office and SipPulse. The Office is an integrator. We used to work with voice over IP using Cisco, and then SipPulse that work with open source voice, and we have developed soft switches and session border controllers. A lot of web stuff in the last 20 years.
Yeah. It's been a while. We've all been around for a while at this point. It's been an exciting ride so far, and AI looks like it's the next big thing, right? I'll be honest. At the start, I was thinking it was going away. Turns out it's not going away. So, how do you feel like AI is influencing the voice market?
I think it will change a lot the voice market. Voice market is dominated by service providers and contact centers and business companies. And contact centers are really prevalent on our market. And I believe contact centers will be the first ones to use AI. And it's a challenge. Voice AI is a real big challenge because
So,
it does not work without a lot of work. It's not.
yeah. Well, maybe we can start from there. What do you think are the main challenges for voice agents? Like when everybody seems to think that you just take, GPT, connect it to some speech to text, and you're done. But it's not. So, what do you think are the main challenges?
We have the challenge. I think the first challenge is quality of voice
Hmm.
because when you look things, every demo that you see is usually with WebRTC. And in WebRTC, you have 16 kilohertz of audio. You have Opus, usually have a very good quality. The PSTN is 8 kilohertz, usually bad. Sometimes you have compressors in the middle, like G729, like we have in some interconnections in Brazil that where we have G729. And then the quality of the voice is not good. Also, we have a lot of noise. Let's say someone called from the airport. There's a lot of background noise. Or if they are on the street, there's a lot of background noise. And customers expect that voice AI works on any situation. And right now, I have to say that it's not the case. Let's say, as humans, we have a lot of resources that we take for granted. Like we are capable to, let's say, filter a noise from a motorcycle from behind and understand what the other person is talking. But when you're using voice AI, sometimes you don't have this capability, or you have to add a filter to do it. And the problem when you start adding filters, then you start adding latency. Then things start to get messy. Do I insert more latency, or do I deal with the voice? How will be the environment? It will be silent or it will be silent. So I think this is the first challenge when we talk about telephony and voice AI is the quality of the voice in the PSTN is still very bad. And I have to say that phone companies have not done a good job in terms of improving the quality of the voice on the public network. Still, we still have G711 from 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah. The problem there is that I feel like we now have the technology to do at least double the bandwidth. Like I don't want 44 killers, but 16 should be standard. Also, most calls are going over LTE right now, or which is actually data. So I don't really know why we're not doing it. It's certainly the an interesting situation. Well, we can change that, but what can we do? Like, how can we get it? How can we get it to work better? Like, it's what can we do around the edges? What are your recommendations?
Yes, I think when we can use WebRTC or Opus calls or G722, it's great. When we are dealing with the public network, we depend on the providers to,
Hmm.
let's say, to turn on a light and say, hey, we need to improve the quality of the public network. In the mobile world, we still have the AWR, the WB, that it's a codec that has a better voice quality for mobile phones. But usually, when you go to the fixed lines, we are still going to the old G711 or even worse. So I think filters can help in some cases, like noise filters
Hmm.
and some audio enhancers to improve the clarity of the voice. But they add latency. So we have, I think, what I recommend people is to balance latency with voice quality, understand the type of environment that you're dealing with. It's a challenge to put voice AI on telephony. It's much easier on WebRTC. On WebRTC, it works quite well.
Definitely does. So, yeah, I think that's a good starting point. Another thing I think should be clear with people is that just at the start, they shouldn't overdo it. Like we can, you should start from a similar aspect to. So many of us have been doing chatbots before the whole LLM thing, and one thing I always advised was do five things. If those five things don't work, like the bot figures out it's not finding out how to do something, just skip it. Go to an agent. So that's probably still useful. Like that will reduce the number of agents, but you need to look for the happy paths and go from there. That's another thing I think should be clear to people. Which in fact leads me to this: the core of AI these days are LLMs, but those are expensive. What do you think is the role of open source in all of this? Because right now I feel like there's almost an ethical divide. Like it's so expensive to run AI. Let me just phrase this better. It used to be that you could just download something and run it. Like if you got FreeSwitch, you could start do telephony. There's people, myself included, who have built their entire career on FreeSwitch, Asterisk, at some PHP, Apache, like the open source stuff, and you only needed an internet connection, and not a very fast one either because they're not very big. Now you can just download OpenAI because it's called Open. I don't know why Open is in the name, but other than that, you can't download. You need GPUs that cost thousands of dollars at the minimum, probably more. So, what's the role of open source in all of this, in your opinion?
I think open source is incredible. It's simply incredible because you can reduce the costs. Uh, let's say by 10 times by using open source these days. We have seen very, very, very good models, LLM, open source like DeepSeek, Quen, and Llama. We particularly love the Quen model. It's very effective, mainly in international languages. Sometimes, let's say, Llama is great, but Llama does not seem to be very good, let's say, in Portuguese. I don't know how it is in Italian or other languages. But this one's DeepSeek and Quen work quite well. The difference in the price of the tokens is huge, right?
Hmm.
So uh, if you start a GPU in one of the providers, there are many in the market, with a model like this one, you can reduce your costs tenfold.
Hmm.
So I think the role of open source is the same. When we started with Asterisk, let's say in 2004, we used to pay $1,000 per recording port, $1,000 for an IVR port. It was very, very expensive for any voice application. And when we started with open source and we discovered that we could create an IVR in minutes without paying $1,000 for per recording port, per IVR port. It was wow. I remember the cost of the E1 cards at that
Mm-hmm.
time. One card used to cost $10,000 plus DSPs plus a lot of things. And then we started to I remember the Tormenta card. It was $1,500 per 4 ports, 41 ports. It was simply astonishing the difference in pricing compared to what we have. I think it's the same now. OpenAI is great. It's really great. But the cost of the GPT-4o is quite expensive depending on the application you're doing. The cost of Whisper or even DeepGram on speech to text is expensive too compared to the open source models. So I think there's the cost. I can say it's a lot better. The quality of Quen, it's fair on terms of GPT-4o, right? And compared to GPT-4o Mini, let's say we have the same price for Quen and GPT-4o Mini. I think Quen it's much better than GPT-4o Mini. And we have this models also, the Quen 3232, that's even lower. And it's a very good model. What we are seeing on open source now are models that are smaller, like DeepSeek, but have a better performance than very large models. So the cost is decreasing. And the hardware is also decreasing. I have seen yesterday the presentation from Jensen Huang from NVIDIA, and the costs of the cards and some of the hardware is also decreasing. So the price per token should decrease in the next years. But there's a catch. Let's talk about agentic AI. You have agentic agents on GPT, on let's say on OpenAI. But if you want to use the same agents on Quen, you need to develop a layer. You have to train the model to accept tool calls. It's a little different. You need to adapt those models to work with tools, right? Many of them do not come ready for using tools to run agents. They run chat very easily, but you have to train them or to get a version that is capable to run with tools.
Yeah, it feels like the challenge there is for a company. I refer to a company because that's ultimately we are all being involved in the open source world for a long time. You are with OpenSips. I actually do the FreeSwitch training. I've been doing FreeSwitch training for a long time, so we're colleagues in that regard. And other hand, though, from a company standpoint, the problem is time to market. Then, like, how long does it take you as a company to figure out how to set out, train, and use Quen or a similar model instead of just using OpenAI to figure out if it's a product that will catch on? So there's a lot there about timing. So I think we're still getting there as an open source community. Still, the role of open source AI will exactly, you said it perfectly at the start. It's the same that Astrid and FreeSwitch had back in the day. We're keeping the industry honest. Like,
yes, it's
like
true.
you have to lower the prices of your services to a point where your services are better than just using open source. So no longer $1,000 ports for an IVR. Maybe the ports now go for $5, which maybe it's a better platform. You don't have to configure as much. If you do it with FreeSwitch or Elastic, just to still sit down and work. While maybe the platform you buy for $5 a port is already ready, just works, and you don't have to do anything. But it's that's like, it can't be justified at $1,000. It's justified at $5. Okay, yeah, $5 is fine. It's reasonable. So it is. It's what we're doing there. The other thing is some of the hardware changes are interesting. Like, have you Apple stuff? Nvidia now has a computer that actually, so the engineer, well, the hardware divisions of engineerings have figured out how to use the whole memory for the computer for AI. new pipelines. So you have unified memory now. That's going to be great. I think all servers are going to have unified memory in the near future, so that you can just run AI directly on device. It's been quite amazing. Well, from the one other thing, from the speech recognition standpoint, which to me is almost as important as the LLM itself, what do you think are the best open source projects right now?
Well, there are many open source projects today working with agentic AI. I think uh, LangChain is very important. Crew AI is very important, and Vapi, LiveKit. There are many. There are many that I have seen in terms of agentic AI. For the LLMs, this project, I believe the Alibaba project, Quen, it's very important. DeepSeek, it's also very effective. We have seen also OpenChat. We have tested many of them, but
Hmm.
I think these ones are the ones that we like most right now. Another thing regarding open source is the flexibility. Let's say when we started 2 years ago, we were using one model. We have changed this model 10 times. Yeah, because uh, the ones ahead change at the pace of this race. We have a new winner every week.
Oh yeah.
So so uh, we I want to check back Google, because Google recently released a lot of good stuff, and but I haven't had time to go back, because 1 year ago they were the, let's say, they were in the back of the pack, and now they seem to be ahead of the pack or in the middle of the pack. It's difficult to. And one good thing about open source is this: you have the flexibility to change very quickly and find the best models. I really like to work with open source more than with the closed source part. But you have a point. Let's say if you look at the OpenAI, the real time on OpenAI is ahead of our time. It simplifies a lot, but you have to pay the price. It's the price per token is much higher.
Yeah, the well, even the price per token, like some of them are getting good. If you go to like Gemini from Google or the new Amazon models are not bad, and especially the Amazon models are not too bad pricing wise, and they're pretty fast. I really like for AI right now. I really like for voice. I really like using Gemini because it's so fast. Like the speed of interaction means that you can almost just do it real time, which is really a good. And I think that's another thing. Like, how do we get the open source models to be that fast? Probably by running smaller ones, right? What does running a smaller model entail? Just I'm curious what the to let's explain what the difference is. Like, what does running a smaller model mean? You need to tune it more, or it's specific for one use case? What's the explanation?
Let's say if I have a bot, a voice agent with one tool, and if the prompt is simple, I could use GPT-4o Mini or Quen 32B. They will work. If I have a model with two or three tools, or even four tools, and a prompt that it's larger and more complicated, usually a small model like GPT-4o Mini or Quen 32B or Claude Haiku, uh, they start making mistakes and errors, and things do not work as well. So there's a lot of trial and error when you're developing bots. I believe this will be the biggest industry, and it's funny that I see an asterisk moment again, the moment
Hmm.
of 2004, where we'll need an army of people developing voice agents, because they are not simple to develop. There's a lot of trial and error, and you have to integrate with APIs, you have to integrate with knowledge bases. There's a lot of integration work in the same way we have seen on the on the voice, on the open source voice revolution in the beginning on 20 years ago. So the AI will not go to the companies by themselves. So someone will have to go there, understand the systems that you have in place, understand the automation, understand the APIs that the company have, the process that the company want to move to artificial intelligence. So it's a lot of work, and it will need an ecosystem that it's big as the ones created by Asterisk or First Switch. You need say thousands of people, millions of people developing voice agents to to start automating the company. It's like to have a superpower. It's if you have AI, let's say you'll be 10 times more productive than you are today. You start to see companies with one person. You start to see different things. It's funny that it's the same thing we have seen for years. Let's say we were on a typewriter 40 years ago. I did my work at school with a typewriter. It took a week to type and have something good on paper. Now it takes let's say half an hour. So we were now 100 times more productive than we were in the 80s, right? And right now we are going to multiply this by 10 again. But it's the same. It's just people will be more productive, right? And we will do more. It's not a question that we are going to have less jobs. It's people will start producing more and more. And in the same way, let's say when we have the first microcomputers, text editors, and everything, we already have 10 times the productivity that we had before. And again, we're going to multiply again per 10 times again the productivity of people. And there's not many options. Let's say you can keep typing on the old typewriters, but I don't see the point.
Yeah, that's a good point, though. I agree with you that we're not. People are worried about the jobs, like the loss of jobs, and there will be less work for people. And I, to me, it feels like it's first of all, it's a multiplier, meaning if still need to know what you're doing to be able to do it better with AI. I fancy myself. I don't want to say this out loud, but I'm a pretty good developer, especially at the platform slash backend level. And I feel like I just work faster. I've tried Cursor, C-Line. There's a few of them. C-Line is my favorite, but it's super expensive. So I use Cursor because it's a flat rate. But I've tried a few of them. And again, I feel like I'm very productive. At the same time, I know what I'm doing. I'm working with the junior member of the team who's just starting out. I'm teaching him how to build around Ruby on Rails, looking at backend, front end, how do you communicate, etc. To him, AI is almost an hindrance because even if he uses AI to write code, he can only tell if it works from the outside. As in, okay, so the page is loading, looks like it's doing something, but is it doing it correctly? He can't tell. He's 22 years old and started a month ago. So who knows? Like he literally doesn't know if the thing that the AI spat out is correct. So it's a multiplier. I don't think it's going to be a change. Like when the steam engine came in, people stopped working in factories. They were making things by hand. Now they have the steam engine and they could work differently. It's just going to be different. People are afraid of change, but it's going to happen anyways.
It's true. No, it's different. Let's say it's hard for me now to, let's say, to write a line of code because the functions are created by AI, but you have to test everything. You have to assemble the whole code, and if you're not organized, you will be in a deep trouble. So all the good practices of software engineer stay the same. So you need to organize your work. You need to create the classes. If you simply ask AI, they will create a mess for you. But let's say you can generate 1,000 lines of code in a few hours, and it's more productive, but it's very different in the way we used to work in terms of coding. But I don't think in these days to write code manually anymore. Uh, I still have to write, let's say, less than 20% of the code. Usually more the organization and the creation of the class and knowing what to ask and the way to assemble and test everything. And most of the time now is spent on testing.
Yeah, the that's a very good point. The we're going to be abstracting more and more of it, but it's testing and knowing. Again, that's what I said earlier. This new person that joined the team can get something to work. He has built a small application that's really just an agent logging into a web page and using WebRTC to make a phone call. So it's like 101 of what we do, right? But he can't tell if it's truly working of not or not. You get what I mean? Like, is it logging in? Yes. Is it making the call? Yes. But does it have everything that it's supposed to have? You don't really know, right? You go look. It might have some obvious security problems, which you don't
True.
notice because you haven't looked at it. It is a so there's going to be a different learning curve, and the question that I've been asking everybody is, how do we train juniors in this age where they don't really need to know? So we both are classically trained engineers. I don't want to say unfortunately, but we had to go through this. Like we had to go through. You had to. I had to build my own computer if I wanted one. So that's how that's how we all started. How do we get new people up to speed in an age where AI makes them think like they know things, but they don't? Are we going back to just hiring people who have a university degree? That might be the case.
Yeah, this is a very difficult question because also we are working on a remote environment that it's even worse, that
Mm.
where we don't have supervision. It's There are good things, good news and bad news. Good news is they are learning faster because they don't they don't stumble that much. They can have quick answers to their problems, so they will learn faster than us. The problem is the basis. If you don't have a good basis, if you don't understand software engineering, if you don't understand the theory, and you're just accepting what the LLM is sending to you, it can be a mess. So I don't know. I think the same will happen again. We'll start valuing experience more than anything these days. And degrees, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how people will get educated on the next 10 years because what I heard from some people say to me, I'm in university, but what they are talking on the class is so old or so boring that it, I I don't want to be I wouldn't want to be a teacher these days because how do you get the attention of these guys? They have everything on YouTube or things much more, let's say, a lot more dopamine on YouTube and social network and social media, and they can learn fast in many ways. That it's probably a hard time to be a teacher.
Yeah, it is. My wife's a teacher. She teaches in high school, and she teaches something completely different. She's a psychologist, so she teaches what's essentially developmental psychology. So she's teaching people, students in high school, how to be a teacher. It's
Mhm.
it's a professional high school. They're learning how to be teachers, and even there, she's getting a lot of people who are doing assignments with AI, but at this point, the only thing a teacher can do is start using AI with them, so they learn how to use it properly. So what
Mhm.
she's been doing is, instead of you people telling me you've wrote this thing and it's been done with AI, and I know because, for example, I know you don't know a few things that are in here because I know you don't. Why don't we do it together and we'll learn how to do it? And that's been extremely effective. Like, there's no point in making telling people to not use AI. They will. The only way is to do it with them and guide them so they can learn how to use the same multiplier for their skills and learn more things. Well, think that's a great starting point. So, well, any closing remarks? Any other things you'd like to add? Anything people should go looking for? Any help you need on an open source project?
Yeah, I think The message I would say to people to look at the open source. I think the two areas that will generate more work would be voice agents and audio intelligence, because there's a lot of audio today and there's no intelligence generated from most of the audio, and we're going to see a lot of synthetic uh, content generated. It's very easy to generate content synthetically, but probably this will put a lot less value in much of the content that we see. So we'll start to see a lot of crap on the internet, and in a scale that we have never seen.
Hmm.
And I think the good opportunity today is really the opportunity that, let's say, that matter to most of the viewers of this program, the ClueCon Weekly, or this community, the First Switch community, that it's as long as there will be a lot of work on creating voice agents, and not only voice agents, agents for companies. And this work cannot be done by Google or OpenAI or none of these companies, because this is a work that you have to go to the company, understand the processes, understand the APIs, understand what the user has, if they have SAP or if they have other systems, HubSpot, or what's the type of integration that he has, understand the process and create agents to automate and to make companies more productive. I think this is an opportunity of trillions of dollars, and it's an opportunity that it's, let's say, is not the opportunity that Google or Microsoft or any of these companies want, because they don't want to provide the services, because services are difficult to scale. So this is, in my opinion, the greatest opportunity for the people that have worked with open source voice. There will be a large opportunity on the creation of voice agents, the creation of open source AI.
Yep, it's gonna be. I feel like you're absolutely right, and we'll get there. I think the next turning point is what's fun is there's I don't remember the title of the novel. It just escapes me right now. There's a great novel on AI that starts with AI, the classic singularity, AI becomes evil and whatever. But I feel like the premise is very well done. Like these guys have had AI, software AI for a long time. What makes AI go critical is hardware. Like as
Mhm.
soon as someone invents a new type of fictional chip in the story, so it's, I mean, it's not real, but someone invents some type of fictional chip, and now that makes AI explode. I feel like the author did very good research in that case, because I feel like that's what they're waiting for. AI right now does a lot of things, but for example, have you seen the latest O3 results from OpenAI? I certainly have. They managed to make it score like 93% on a test that most PhDs have trouble getting 85% on. Only one run for the test, like it's 1,000 questions or whatever, cost $1.1 million. Like answering 1,000 questions cost $1.1 million. Every question costs $1,000 to answer, a single one. Like and they can make it never go wrong, but that's not even economically scale. I mean, not on any scale. Like there's no reason why you'll run that. But if that gets 10 times as expensive, it's $110,000, still too much. Let's say 100 times as expensive, 10 11,000. Hey, you know what, 11,000 for something, $11,000 for something that can answer 1,000 uh PhD level questions starts getting interesting. Like a PhD costs more.
Mhm. It's true.
Uh, you get it to be $1,000 for a million questions. There's no comparison. So it's hardware at the moment. To me, hardware is more of a bottleneck than software. We already have the technology. We just don't have enough chips to run on it. So let's see what happens there.
I'm not sure, Luca.
No.
No, we have seen companies that are running inference at very high speed. Actually, the
Grok.
biggest cost is to train the models. But if you look at DeepSeek, they have trained the models with a fraction of the cost of OpenAI. Uh, so I'm not sure that I think a lot of money is being wasted on training
Hmm.
by ineffective training parameters. Maybe I think they are finding ways to train much faster. Another thing, I think this was one of the guys of OpenAI told, our brains process using very little energy. So
Mm.
there's a lot of room to reduce the energy consumption on AI. It's not normal the amount of energy that we are consuming on AI at this point because the systems are still very inefficient. And we can see, let's say, if you look at the papers from DeepSeek, you'll see that DeepSeek is training AI with a very, in a way that it's very efficient, expanding a tenth of what OpenAI is doing in the same training. So I think we can still cut a lot of corners. There's a lot to be learned yet.
There are
And
some side architecture coming in the market too. Like the Mamba is a variation on transformers that uses far less attention groups, or that's the definition might be wrong, but it's effectively, which might be a variation of what DeepSeek is doing. Like people are finding a way to train models without having to do 10 billion parameters. Like train them
yeah,
with millions instead of billions. That's ultimately what costs money because that's memory, and it needs to be fast memory and needs to have fast pipes, so all of that is expensive. So to me sometimes I feel like Nvidia is trying to keep people from inventing more efficient models. Like they haven't
true.
made enough money. Like if you
Yeah,
come
but
up with, yeah, if you come up
sorry,
with
go
super
ahead.
efficient, if you come up with a super efficient model, Nvidia is going to send someone to your house to talk to you. You know,
Yeah, there's this guy from Grok, not the Grok with Q.
hmm?
He has created a platform that it's specialized on inference, and his inference today it's probably one of the fastest on the market.
Oh
I
yeah, I've
think
used that. It's insane.
Cerebras also is have a platform that it's much faster than we have seen many companies that are doing very fast inference computers that are different. They do not use NVIDIA, and they are much faster. They have a latency that it's very slow. So what I see today is we are in a new market. This market is not mature, so there's a lot of room for improvement, and we are going to see in the next year the race again. Everybody will try to be in the ahead of the pack. Some will go back, some will go ahead. That's why you need now to be flexible. If you marry today a company, one specific AI company,
Yeah.
you, you can be on the back of the pack because of the one you have married. So you need to be more open and be open to move to the best model very quickly. I think this is also important. This is
To
the
me, Google made a
flexibility
good
of
choice.
OpenAI's crew. Huh?
Yeah. To me, Google made a good choice by having their own hardware. Google is the only AI company, well, aside from Grok, which is smaller, but Grok, Google, and just a couple others have their own hardware. They're not just running on commercial GPUs. And that might also be a factor at some point. Like if you're able to, maybe they're able to scale faster or maybe get more production. I don't know. Really depends. Again, I think right now there's two different races. One is the open source side, which is how we get better models, smaller, more interesting, more well trained, more focused, so it's smaller. The other race is hardware, and it's a big player field. Like the one who gets the most chips might actually win out. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. This guy from Grok was from Google. He actually got created some. I think he's the one that invented or contributed to invention of the TPUs. And
Oh yeah,
so uh, I think this architecture is probably much faster for inference. Unfortunately, there are still some software incompatibilities, but they are being they addressed. Sometimes we love the inference time and latency. Latency, it's these new architectures are very good.
yeah. But I mean, the one thing I can say for sure is that it's a super fun time to be in this industry. Like it's
Yeah, I feel in the same moment. Let's say we have these moments in life, like say in the 84, 40 years ago, the first microcomputers were coming. I remember the Commodore 64, the first color computer.
Mhm.
And then in the 90s, I remember in 95 seeing Mosaic running at the first time on the internet. And the
Mhm.
internet, Yahoo. It was, I think we are in the same moment again. It's a fun moment. There's lots of things to do and lots of fun. One of the good things about our profession, there's a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing it. It's not, I can stay in the computer for hours and hours and hours because it's enjoyable. It's much.
Yeah.
The first time I wrote a line of code, I never, let's say, play the video game anymore.
Yeah. You're right. We just go and do we just go and it's a game to us. So don't that maybe we shouldn't have said it on video because people now will figure us out and they won't want to pay us anymore. But it's
It's
a
true. It's
game.
true.
I do play games on occasion, but just sitting down with new technology is far more fun.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And this is a moment. This is a pivot moment. And there's a lot of fun when I'm playing with these open source models, trying to train. The first times you're trying to train, the frustration that it's not working. We have to do it again, again, again until it works. The persistence, it's very fun.
Well, Flavio, thank you so much. It was a great chat. We went through a lot of topics, and feels like the field is evolving so fast. So, well, looking forward to meeting you at some conference and maybe chatting some more. And well, for now, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Luca. Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure to be here. Very nice chat.
Thank you. So,
Thank you.
well, and for the rest of the people, I'll see you next week as usual. Goodbye.